Raising the money. It's always the hardest part anyway, particularly as I couldn't find a studio that would just hand me a cheque and say, go ahead, make the movie you want to make. Because I'm not Oliver Stone, you know. I'm a casual filmmaker.
How did you tell us about how you went about it? I understand it's on the Australian...
The Lightning Jack Film Trust Stock Exchange, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So tell us how that came about.
The stockbrokers that raised the money for Crocodile Dundee and made a bundle came back to me with this proposition of they could raise the money a similar way but float it on the stock exchange. So, you know, the movie is now on the stock exchange. So, you know, if you're sitting there watching it and you're looking around, you think it's working, you can rush out and buy shares and own a piece of it. I think it appealed to people because to own a piece of a movie is a lot more fun and a bit more glamorous than a piece of a lead mine or, you know, or pork belly futures or something like that.
It's a great idea. Do you have some stock in it too?
Oh yeah, I'm the biggest shareholder. I have to put my money where my mouth is. So if it doesn't make a lot of money, I won't.
Why the American West? Why not an Australian cowboy?
No, the American West is the escapist, glamorous West that we were all raised on. You know, that there was only like three Australian movies made when I was a kid. It's sort of like most people around the world. I grew up on American Westerns. When you say a Western, that means the American West.
Like John Wayne? Or...
Yeah, all of those. It's sort of, you know, I must have seen whoever. I mean, the whole world grew up on the Western.
So how fun was it to finally get to do a Western, like childhood dream come true, and get a little shooter here and a horse, and, you know, get out and do that in the Arizona sun?
Yeah, sort of like a middle-aged child playing cowboys. Yeah. It'd be a little embarrassing, but yeah, it was fun, and I loved it, and I wish I was still doing it. But I didn't do it just because I wanted to play cowboys. I thought I could make a Western a bit different to what they've been made.
How did you get director Simon Windsor involved? I mean, we think of him in Lonesome Dove and things like that, and this is a little bit of a departure. It's a delightful one, but...
Yeah, I wanted him because of Lonesome Dove, because that really sort of reminded everybody that the Western is a great genre and will still work, and he knew how to capture it. I didn't have trouble talking him into it. He just read the script, and the idea appealed to him too. You know, I've seen 500 Westerns, and only about 4 of them were funny. So there's a big gap there to make a funny Western.
Were you buddies? Were both Australians?
No, we never met before, Simon and I. It's a small country, but it's not that small. There's a few people there I've never met.
You talk about wanting to make a movie that was different. Was it primarily the humor, or were there other elements that you wanted to put in that would maybe set this apart from other Western films?
No, it was mostly the humor, because I wanted the look of it to be like a traditional Western, and everyone else in it except me and Cuba. We were the oddballs, and that was what's to make it different. All the situations in it are all sort of cliche, but the way we get into them or the way we get out of them is what makes it different.
So speaking of Cuba, I mean, he's sort of known for Boys in the Hood and A Few Good Men, you know, very dramatic sort of pieces. And how did you come about?
I saw him on a talk show. I knew he was a good actor. I'd never thought about him for the role, and I saw him on a Dennis Miller show and saw what he was like. His own personality come out, and he's funny and he's very likeable and very expressive. And the role in this of the mute is not like the piano. I mean, he has to get laughs. You have to know what he's thinking and what he's doing. So once I met him after that, and Simon and I had a talk with him, and he read the script, and couldn't see anyone else doing it, you know. I mean, he's a funny man and very likeable, and it comes out.
But you wrote this, so I could ask you this. Why make him a mute instead of just making him talk? And because that would be just easier for that would be the easy way out.
Yeah.
Because it's so tough, you know, making expressions instead of just talking. So what was that choice?
I wanted to make it hard for him. I wanted him to have a handicap to overcome, to make it as an outlaw. And I thought, if I made him deaf and dumb, maybe that's too hard to make it as an outlaw. But I wanted him to have some of the qualities that Jack never had. And, you know, Jack had trouble with his eyesight. Ben had eyes like a hawk, and ears, you know, like an eagle. But he couldn't talk. Jack talks too much. So together, and Ben has the brains and Jack doesn't have too many. So together they made one complete outlaw.
How did you get Roger Daltrey of The Who to do a cameo?
He insisted.
Really?
Yeah, I'd known Roger for a few years. We share a lawyer, and he found out I was making a western. He said, "I want to play cowboys." So they put him in a small part, and he's wonderful. He's a good actor, a lot of presence. It makes a good villain.
He makes a wonderful.
Yeah, you really want to kick him.
What were some of the sets? I understand you built certain things in Australia.
Well, some of the interiors we did in Australia.
You filmed them there?
Yeah, interiors only, because the exteriors you can't match that countryside that's up in the Four Corners. It had to be there. The movie had to look like, you know, John Wayne could walk through the background at any moment and would look at home, because that was the West we were trying to capture. Not the harsh, gritty reality of the West, but the romantic, escapist West.
Where was that wonderful cave? I mean, there were some besides the story and all that, there were some wonderful, almost like paintings.
Because of that cave, I worried about that because it looked like someone had made it for
Right.
Star Wars or something. It looked like something. But that's real, that cave, and that's up at Lake Powell. Well, everything's real. It's all up in the Four Corners where Arizona, New Mexico, Utah and Colorado meet. And that's one of the most striking places on the face of the earth.
Was it treacherous at all riding through there?
Yes. It was very scary. And there were one or two people got bumped and bruised, but we didn't care because they were Indians and it wasn't me in Cuba. They were the bad guys.
What about the camera crew? I mean, the shots there, it's incredible. Did they have any problem shooting? It seemed narrow. So did they have any problem shooting?
No, it was a lot of tricky stuff went on. There were, you know, cameras attached to horses and all sorts of things. So, but you know, Simon Windsor sort of can probably shoot horse chases better than anyone else in the world. Anyway, if you've seen some of the work he's done. So.
Talking about horses, I don't know if you're living in Australia and everything. Are you like it's an old hat going on horses and riding horses?
Reasonably, yeah. I could ride before the movie. I could probably ride a little better at the end of it. Yeah.
So you don't get sore or anything? It's just...
Not by the end of the movie I didn't get sore. You get your butt calluses and then you're all right. But see, it's a bit tender at the start.
Now, all of those were stunt guys doing all that, hanging off, or I don't know. Was that you there doing all your own stuff?
You look very
A lot of times it was us, and sometimes it wasn't. Man, I won't tell you when because that takes the edge off the film.
Was there anything that you did that was turned out to be a little more dangerous or frightening once you started it, or some stunt that was more difficult than you thought it was going to be?
No, anything that I thought was any chance of me or Cuba getting injured and therefore holding up the production, we didn't do it. I didn't do it and I wouldn't let him. He wanted to, but I wouldn't let him.
Where is home? Is it still Sydney?
I float between Byron Bay and Colorado, and I seem to spend most of my time in LA though in the last year or so.
You mean you have a place in Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, is it a ranch?
Yeah.
Is there some of your family there? Or?
No. We float between Byron Bay, which is beautiful green rolling hills on the coast, deserted beaches, and the mountains of Colorado, which is some of the prettiest country in the world. And that's our ideal, is living in those two places.
Not bad, I'd say.
No, it's good, but I spend a lot of time in LA.
What's next that you're going to be working on? Is something else you're writing now?
No, I improve my skiing as soon as this movie's finished. That's the important thing. I haven't thought of another project, and I don't. I only do one at a time.
Was it your son that kind of co-wrote with you, or sometimes? Or...
He's co-wrote Crocodile Dundee 2 with me.
Mm-hmm.
But,
is he interested in writing at all?
Oh yeah, he's written. He's got a movie in early pre-production back in Australia. He sort of works in the business, but behind the camera. You know, he's a cameraman, got his own little video production company. He's the only one of my grown-up kids that's in the industry.
Where did the idea for this character and this story come from? Was it from watching westerns, or if you've always wanted to do this, but specifically this character and this whole idea of him trying to make a name for himself and not being able to?
He's the opposite of all the traditional Western heroes. They're all sort of cool and tough and very single-minded, you know, and they just relentlessly pursue the bad guy or the gold, and they don't seem to have much of a life outside that. So I wanted one that looked like that for 5 minutes. Looked like he was, you know, another Clint Eastwood, B-grade or something. And then gradually reveal that the man is actually There's more to him than that. You know, he's shallow, self-centered, egotistical, vain, superstitious, short-sighted, and a bit of a jerk. All those things that we can all relate to, all those human qualities. That was the object of him. And he was probably, in a strange way, nearer to the truth. Because, you know, Billy the Kid and Jesse James and those guys, they weren't brain surgeons. You know, they were sort of into robbing a bank here or there and getting their picture in the paper too.
There was a funny scene where you were going to rob the bank and all the people came in because it's when the merchants, you know, put
Bad
the money.
timing, it's called. Yeah.
Well, that was a very funny scene.
That was the story of Jack's life, bad timing.
Could you kind of look back for us for a minute and tell us maybe 3 breakthroughs in your life thus far? You know, turning points.
3, and I haven't only 2 I've had.
2.
Yeah. First at I think I'm an inspiration to the baby boomers because I'm such a late starter. I mean, I stumbled into television at 31 with no thoughts of or desires to get into it until then. And then I switched to movies at 46 and made Crocodile Dundee, which was a pretty big start. They're the 2 turning points. The 3rd one hasn't come yet.
Would you describe yourself as ambitious?
No.
No.
I've done 4 movies in 8 years.
Yeah.
I describe myself as lazy, a little bit lacking in ambition.
But you've been very successful at it.
Yeah, I think it came too easy. I was a genuine overnight star. You know, people get angry when you put that label on them because they say, you know, I've been working my guts out for 15 years to get where I am or something. I didn't. I just stumbled in and, you know, first time on television was the first time doing anything in public, and you know, I had my own show inside 6 months or something. And so I just go along with it, you know.
After you were 31, I mean, you did a lot of, just a whole slew of jobs.
Yeah, through the blue collar industry, never anything with you could call a career.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you'd write something and star in it? I mean,
No.
in your heart of hearts or dream of dreams, did you ever think
No,
that might?
no, I had no idea what I wanted to do at 31,
then
and just stumbled into it
then when
for
you,
all the wrong reasons.
Do you think it was just good fortune, or was there something unique about what you were doing that enabled you to blow up so big so quickly?
Combination of both, I think. Originality is almost the key to everything. You do something and you don't know what it is or why you're doing it, but you're doing it first, or no one else has thought of it, and then you're lucky and the timing's right, and you're away. And it's a combination. Certainly luck plays a lot to do with anything, but originality also. If you're doing something a little bit different to everyone else, so that, you know, you're not the new Robin Williams, or you're not the next Dustin Hoffman or something. You've got to be the first something or other.
Because at the time there wasn't really a sort of a blue-collar sort of Aussie hero at the time, and you just sort of...
No, there wasn't much happening
No.
there in the way of
you're kind of an everyman.
comedy.
People can identify with you too, don't you think?
Yeah, I think also there'd been a lot of people that maybe had tried to do that, but they weren't real, you know. And I was real. I did work on the Harbour Bridge, and that was my career was in construction. And I went on television, and if it didn't work, I didn't care. And I think that's what people identified with more than... I don't think it was all that funny when I started, but I didn't care, and if you didn't like it, well, that's your problem. And that sort of came out, and I think particularly down home, people identified with that. And it wasn't someone up there saying, please love me, give me your love and adoration and respect. It was someone saying, look, if you don't like it, turn it off, you know.
Is that your attitude still now?
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, the efforts in the first place is, I don't make a films, you know, just so I can play cowboys. I try and make something that I think will entertain a big lump of people. And I'll never win them all. And the attitude is still, you know, if you think it sucks or you don't like what I'm doing, well, you know, don't watch. That's okay.
There was one of the scenes in the movie that particularly cut my ear, because I am a member of the press. This is something about journalists never getting anything right, and you certainly had a certain share of that when you became so big in America. Now looking back, you know, almost a decade went by. Looking back, can you laugh about it now? I mean, you were almost all the time in the tabloids way back then when you became so popular, so fast. Can you laugh about it now, or did you laugh at it back then?
I laughed about it then. It's sort of... sometimes I was disappointed that the stories they made up were a bit boring, you know, But I don't go out in public. You don't never see me in a restaurant arm wrestling with Roseanne or something, or chasing Madonna up the street or something. So I only ever had dull little stories. But the part in the movie wasn't a dig at the tabloid press, because it didn't exist then. And there was a realism to that. First of all, everybody in the world now believes that you can't believe what you read in the paper. But in that time it was very important. If you got your picture in the paper 3 times, you could run for president. The only famous people in America in that period were, 2 or 3 politicians, a couple of lawmen, and all the outlaws. Billy the Kid and Jesse James were more famous than... There was no Beverly Hills 90210 or anything like that happening then. So it was a big deal to be a famous outlaw. And he, even if they got it right in the paper, he wouldn't have been happy with it. So it was never good enough for him.
When you think about critics and things, is there one particular review that you really enjoyed, that you thought right on, that they've got me nailed? Or was there one that was bad but you can't forget it?
No, to be quite honest. But if you believe the good ones, you've got to believe the bad ones. So you just sort of... I have a very straightforward attitude with critics. As if they like what I'm doing, they're really good judges. And if they don't like what I'm doing, they're dickheads. What do they know? It's the only way to do it.
Is there a basic philosophy that keeps you on center? Because you seem very well grounded to me.
A basic philosophy?
Yeah, or maybe some advice maybe your folks gave, or you learned the hard way yourself, that maybe you're on highs or lows, but you go merrily riding right along.
Oh no, I'm a bad role model, because I am lazy and I just wake up in the morning and see what happens. I did my work and my advice to kids or young people or anyone trying to break into any business at all is to bite off more than you can chew, and chew like crazy. Try everything, and then if you fail, so what? Crowds don't gather to laugh at you. 2 or 3 people do if you fail. But I've done that, and I've now had some success, so I'm now wallow in it. I'm lazy, and I enjoy my time off. I'm very good at time off.
How do you spend it besides the ranch and the beautiful seashore?
Oh, well, I just don't look at it. I'm an old surfer, and I've now discovered skiing, and I'm a total ski bum. And I travel, and I go fishing. I just live a good life.
Sure, seems to. When you write, do you have a power book, a laptop?
No, I have a yellow legal pad and a pencil. I've written 50 television shows and 4 movies in longhand with a pencil. So that way, your office is in your back pocket.
Do it any place.
Yeah, or not at all.
We got to know you as American audiences through the commercials, Australian tourist commercials and all that. We don't see them anymore. Is it because you did it so well that they don't need your help anymore? Everybody just automatically goes to Australia. It's one of those tourist places everybody goes now?
Pretty much, but I took them off the air because I was getting bored with them. Still had that damn shrimp on the barbie after like 5 years now. It's burnt out, dried up shrimp by now, I insisted that they change the ads and keep them fresh.
But you're like one of the main attractions. You and the kangaroo are like the main...
Yeah, I know. I feel like a human kangaroo sometimes. Yeah.
Kangaroo.
Well, at least I'm now in front of the kangaroo.
You guys are both cute, so, it doesn't matter. But do you ever, like you said, you didn't want to do that anymore, so... Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
No, they help sort of put down Crocodile Dundee more than those, because those ads were only shown virtually in New York and LA. They weren't shown around the rest of the country or around the world much. But I think probably Crocodile Dundee sort of made people aware of a different continent down south and brought down more tourists than they can handle, so they don't really need me to beat the drum and say come down and pay a visit. But everyone's still welcome to come. Just because I'm not on television saying shrimp on the barbie doesn't mean you can't come anymore.
So, yeah,
still a great place for a holiday.
Like you said, your movies certainly opened at least my eyes to Australia. So do you plan on doing more movies down there and showing more of this? It's so big, there's so much to show.
Yeah. No, you can't do a movie with the motive of sort of making it a tourist ad at the same time, because, scenery is background. And if it doesn't matter how beautiful it is, movies don't work on scenery. They're just nice to have in the background.
you've talked a couple times about people's reactions, and you have an attitude that sounds very, straight ahead. If they don't like it, then that's all. You're not going to worry too much about that. And thinking about this film, I wonder if did you think at all about how certain Black Americans might react, because there are a lot of people who are still very sensitive to certain kinds of portrayal, who might look at some of what Cuba's doing as sort of like for lack of a better word, almost cooning, if you understand what I'm saying. Just sort of being bugging his eyes and grinning and kind of shuffling around. Not shuffling, but almost being a more of a flunky as opposed to a partner to you. Did you think about any of that? Have you heard any of that? How would you respond to somebody who might say that?
No, I have heard that from two white journalists who maybe they're a little racist, I think, because I mean, I'd say, what are you saying to me that I wrote this for a mute? I didn't write it for a black, a green, or Chinese mute. I just wrote it for a mute, and Cuba was perfect. But what I felt they were saying to me was that you can't have a black guy or an African American or whatever term you put being a buffoon. Well, the biggest buffoon in the movie, if you look at it, the one that doesn't have the brains, is the one over here with the blue eyes. Can you say, that all white people are idiots because I'm an idiot? And if you have a black actor, can he only play, like a lawyer or something? I sort of don't have an answer to that. It's sort of like, okay, Cuba's eyes bug out. Well, mine do too, but you don't see them because they're slitty. When I'm scared at one spot in this film, I go, but that's as big as my eyes get. So I think anything like that is in the eye of the beholder. I think Jack's colourblind, so should everybody else be. It's I mean, the movie's not about that. Maybe that's the problem. It's not about that one guy's black and the other guy's an Australian. It's about two losers who together make one winner, But if it's politically incorrect or something like that, well, so be it.
Tell us about you're selecting Beverly for your heroine.
Who came up with Beverly? Oh, my wife did.
You did?
Yeah, and she looked right and worked right in the role.
Did you ever think about your wife doing it?
No, when I wrote it, we'd already talked about that, about not having her and me turn up every time I did a movie, that I have the same damsel in distress, because, we did it 3 times. So she was never in it anyway. And Beverly just looked right for what we were looking for. Just had the good old saloon gal, and she can sing a bit too. And she was always very likeable on screen too, Beverly. So we were happy with her.
So you guys don't have a project coming up together?
No, I mean, I don't have any projects at all. I mean, she's got another movie or 2 due out, but I don't have anything.
What's your movies coming out?
The next one is a movie called Zorn, which is a big European art film, period, that type of thing they do, the beautiful photography and all that kind of stuff that she likes. That's not really up my alley. It comes out in July or something.
So, have you thought of taking, you're really good in Anzacs, have you been offered scripts from here, or, do dramatic roles or other stuff?
Yeah, I've been offered a lot of scripts that I didn't like. But yeah, if a good script landed on my desk tomorrow, that, it had me as an axe murderer, if it was a really good story, I'd do it. And I'll turn up and do as I'm told. I don't have to sort of control someone else's movie. But nothing's come my way that I've jumped up and down about. I don't get thought of much in Hollywood, because I am the Australian actor, and so it's less got Australian on the script. They don't think, well, we get Harrison Ford or Bruce Willis or Paul Hogan. Their name's not on that list. It could be.
You can't do American accents?
I could if it was necessary, yeah. I was going to for this film, then I thought, it's a bit hard with me because I'm so well known and my accent's so well known that people would be sitting there watching, waiting for it to slip, and it'd be distracting, And the accent, bottom line is, there's just one line in this film that says I'm an Australian. It's not about being an Australian. No more than the Terminator was an Austrian. The accent was there, but that's got nothing to do with the story.
earlier you said, you know, you're an ordinary guy, baby boomer and everything. So how do fans act to you? Is it different the way they act to you in Australia? Because he's Paul, you know, good fella, and over here, you know, people look at you as a movie star. How do fans act to you towards you now, and you know, the two different countries?
Pretty much the same. It's I might be slightly more of a novelty here because I'm the only Australian people know in a lot of places. You know, there are more than one of us, but in a lot of places I'm the only one they know. And naturally, I'm not that much of a novelty at home because so many people walk and talk and look like me anyway. So, but you know, I'm the token man down there. You know,
You're a bit of a ledge back home, Paul.
well, I've been well known at home for 20 years, so I'm not such a novelty there.
If you do when you do another film and you write it or produce it or whatever, would you try the same thing again about putting it on the stock exchange? I mean, this is the first time this has been done. I think it's kind of unusual.
Well, certainly unusual, and if it's successful, I'd maybe look at it again. It was very complicated to do it, though, and it's meant I spent an awful lot of time with stockbrokers and lawyers and accountants that I'd rather have spent doing other things. And if it's unsuccessful, there could be lynch mobs at the airport, so there's 5,600 people put their money into this. So I'll make that decision when I see how the movie goes. It's good. It was great. It gave me the independence.
Yeah.
It's a movie that's on the screen's the movie I wanted to see up there. So if it sucks, it's my fault.
But for Crocodile Dundee, though, you've got a lot of small investors investing as well.
In the first one, yeah. Well, everyone that did made, better than 1,000% on their money, and it was them that came back to me, the stockbrokers, and said, set this up on the stock exchange.
Will you be doing a tour of Europe as well?
Yeah. Well, it's part of the deal. If you invest in this film, I've got to do everything that's required of me. I say, okay, you want me to go to Taiwan? I'll go to Taiwan.
When will that be released?
Oh, that'll be rest of the world. It's Disney's doing the rest of the world, May and June.
You're gonna have a busy summer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.